Hello, good people. Welcome to today's podcast. And in this full podcast, I will be explaining about fluency in IELTS speaking. Okay, I'll start from what does fluency mean? Okay, maybe some of you can realize that fluency is speaking more naturally, confidently, fast paced, like native speaker in US or England. Well, seems like something similar to this, but there's some difference between these thoughts. Fluency is you can speak normally and naturally, and you can add your emotion in the sentence, which means you are really in normal condition. You can speak what you want to speak. That's really is fluency. That doesn't mean you have to speak like a pro. You have to you have to speak more than 10 words with 5 seconds. Not like that. Fluency is you can speak that the idea that comes to your mind. Okay, I hope you are enough. I hope this information is enough to understand what fluency is. Okay, let's talk about what is the main factors that really affect fluency. I will tell that using many pauses, long pause, or using some words that are not realistic that can harm your fluency. Let's talk about using long pauses. Okay, listen, pause is not so bad in fluency. Even pauses are really natural, but it depends on the context. For example, you can give pause when you are in a difficult situation, you are going to answer some complex question, then you can get pause. But there are some strategy to get those pause. For example, the examiner asks you a tough question, then you can ask him to ask him for a second. It can be generally 3 to 5 seconds. You can start like this. Well, that's a difficult questions. Then you can get 3 to 5 seconds, and I think that are really natural pause. So you can use pauses in complex situation using some tough and difficult questions that natural. But when you use pauses unnecessarily, when you use pauses that will show that you are not a good speaker, you cannot use your own words in English, that really harms your fluency. Okay. And another reason is using complex words. Okay, listen, IELTS fluency doesn't mean you have to use complex words, complex sentence pattern. And on the other side, when you use complex words that you really don't know the meaning and the context of using these words, you will not be comfortable using these words. And that the words using these words will show you that you are not a good speaker and your fluency level can go down. Okay, another good strategy for developing fluency is thinking in English. We are Bangladeshi, and the ideas that comes in our mind are usually in Bangla. I know, but when the ideas comes to your mind is in English and you can explain that in your brain in English, then you can do it immediately. You can speak naturally and confidently. Using ideas that comes to your mind in Bangla, you need to translate them. You need to hesitate what which types of sentence will be used to explain these ideas. So the question is, how can you get ideas in English? That's a tough question, really. It really depends on practice and skill. When you practice and understand the situation, understand the context of the question, then the ideas will come to your mind automatically in English, and you can explain this when you describe the situation. I hope you got me. Okay, let's talk about some memorized answers that some students try to do that, but that's really a bad habit. You can memorize some words, but Besides, you need to memorize that the context of using these words and phrases. In IELTS speaking part 1, the examiner will ask you some common and personal questions. In this matter, you are not able to use some complex ideas or complex sentence pattern. You just need to express yourself. You just need to tell them what you like or what you don't like. That's all. You don't need to explain it in many more words, or you are not able you are not you'll not be able to use more time on IELTS part 1. On the part 2 of IELTS speaking, you can use 2 minutes. Yes, time is really short here, and you need to utilize this time. Okay, so in this situation, you need to express the topic. The strategy you can use here is top TLR. You can talk about the topic, the time when this happened to you, the person which is related on this topic, and the context and the why this topic is important to you. Okay, so only 2 minutes. You need to speak confidently and express the topic logically. In IELTS part 3, it is really complex than part 1, because the questions comes in IELTS part 3 from the cue card in IELTS speaking part 2. In part 3, you need to analyze the answer. You need to explain why it is. You need to analyze why are you saying this, and an analytical mind and is needed in this context. Okay, for example, the examiner can ask you, why do people think uh, good transportation system is good for our society? Then you just not tell them that it's good transportation system can bring uh, can reduce waste of time. Why this reduce waste of time? You need to say this. Okay, so that's all about today's podcast. I tried my best to speak. I know I have done a lot mistakes while speaking. I'm not a good speaker, but if I try more and practice regularly, I can be a good speaker and I can speak fluently, formal, informal, and every situation. Thanks for watching.